Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be counting down our top 10 games to bring with us when we're on a deserted island. So this was a fun idea. Lynn, you came up with this idea. How did you think of this one?
Oh. I don't actually remember how I thought of it because it was a while ago.
Okay, fair enough. So we were workshopping this idea for a little while. Lynn had thought of it a while ago, and then we were discussing like what would the rules be. And what we came up with, our final decision on the rules was that we're on a deserted island with a group of people. It's not just, so there's no limit to player count. You can only bring 10 games, and you can't bring like a bunch of expansions. So if a game is reliant on having its expansions make it great, that probably wouldn't make your list. But otherwise, that's it. Everybody on the island gets to have 10 games. So Lynn's got her 10 games, and I've got my 10 games. And we have some other people on the island to play the games with. And that's literally it for the rules. Your justification as to why you would bring said games on the island is up to the individual person. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's it.
That pretty much covers it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what was your experience like in making this list? And did you have any extra justifications for fitting games on your list?
I had a pretty easy time making the list.
Mm-hmm.
The only I tried to stick to games that had a lot of variety.
Mm-hmm.
Play from different playthroughs, how do you word that?
Play styles.
No. Oh. I tried to find games with different varieties from like gameplay to gameplay.
So like play styles, like it can play significantly different from game to game.
And not significantly different, just like variety.
Okay, it can play different from game to game. Is that better?
I don't know.
Okay, go on.
I don't know if it's really from, and also like game length. There's a couple of long games in there, but they also have like variety from game to game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like, oh, just throw some like super long games in. There's also variety.
Okay, is that basically so variety of the games and variety of the gameplay of each game is
No.
that no? Okay, all right. I don't understand.
I didn't
at all
really
then.
think of variety of gameplay of each game.
Okay, I thought that's what you were just saying. Like each game can vary quite a bit from game to game. That's sort of what you were just saying.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay then, clear as mud. Thank you, Lynn. So for mine, I did try to keep a variety of the games, but maybe not as hardcore as you did. From what you're saying, though I haven't seen your list yet. But I also did for each individual game. I tried to focus not on how much I loved the game, though these are all games I do love. Minimum 8 stars is the lowest rating on this list. So everything on here is a fantastic game. But I went more for replayability for one reason or another. Why it is that this game has the ability to play it a ton. Because you only have the 10 games with you on the island. I wanted games that I would be able to play the heck out of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we get into this, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. There's also a link to my Teespring store. You can get some cool merch. And there's a link to my Patreon if you're in a position to and would like to support the channel. Now, before we get started, did you want to go first or second on this list?
I'll go first.
Okay, so without any further ado, let's get to our number 10s. Number 10.
So my number 10 is not technically a board game.
What? Wait, what?
It's the only one that's not technically a board game. And
what is it?
It's Nobilis.
A role-playing game.
And it's diceless, so you don't actually need like dice.
All you need is the book.
All you need is the book.
Okay, no, I'm with you on this. This is a brilliant choice. Wow, way outside the box. Go on.
Well, that was what?
Well, go on. Explain why you chose it and then talk about the game.
I chose Nobilis because it's a role-playing game that doesn't use dice.
Yeah.
It's all like, point based on your character of whether you can do something or not. And so you literally just need the giant book. And
you would need some paper and pencil.
well, you could scratch in the sand. If you have a good memory, I don't know.
Okay,
A big palm leaf.
Now, okay, you do need a little paper and pencil,
Yeah.
but that's a very minor addition that doesn't count as an expansion. So the paper and pencil is a minor thing. It's not an expansion. I am willing to totally let that go. I gotta figure, like, we are shipwrecked or we crashed in a plane. There were paper and pencils on said ship or plane. That's not a problem. I'm even willing to let go 100% that this is not a board game. It's a game. And I personally think this is a brilliant choice. In fact, I am wowed by your number 10 choice. I'm actually surprised this isn't higher on your list because of how much I know you like this game.
I put it low because it wasn't technically a board game.
That makes sense. I get that.
I didn't want like the number one to be like not even follow any rules.
And this is a very easy to play role-playing game. People can very easily get into this. And because it doesn't need any dice or anything else, and because literally the game is fully self-contained in one book, I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great that you brought a role-playing game, and actually, I'm glad you're here with me on this deserted island. So, yeah, fantastic. All right, anything else you want to say on that?
No.
My number 10 is RRR, or Religion versus Regality Revolution. And the reason for this is a compact, quick, super quick to play game with a ludicrous amount of variability. So it has ludicrous replayability. And the main reason it has ludicrous replayability is the big addition for RRR over its predecessor, RR, which was just Religion and Regality, is the deck of neutral cards that you can also draft from when drafting units to play out on the 3x3 grid that is the board. Because they differ and they change from game to game, this game becomes ludicrously replayable, ludicrously addictive as you want to try out different combinations of units. You play units to either destroy other cards on the board or to flip the allegiances of other cards on the board, and you want to end the game controlling the most points worth of spaces, because that's another thing that was added for this version, RRR, is that you also have random board setup, because the board uses these cards that have different point values. And it winds up being a game where as soon as you finish playing it, you're like, let's play it again. And it has a ridiculous amount of replayability. And that's why I put it in as my number 10, because replayability is key for me on this one. What do you think on RRR?
I don't remember much about it the couple times I played.
Okay. So, all right. Fair enough. All right, so we'll move on. Number 9.
Okay.
So I got to tell you, before you say your number 9 there, I am super interested to see the rest of your picks on this list because your number 10 was so creative.
Okay, my number 9. This is gonna be another thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you know those like nice like coffee table things where you have like a bunch of like classic games in them, like checkers and chess,
like the one we have,
backgammon, whatever that the
classic multi-game set.
Yeah.
You did a really good job on this list. This is some brilliant stuff.
Sometimes they have dominoes in there too, if you get a really nice one, like a bougie one.
Because the thing is, it's a single set.
Yeah.
That will have like, now granted, it's classic games,
yeah.
So depending on the game, some of them have dubious quality. Like the one we have has freaking Pass Out, which is terrible. It also has tic-tac-toe in it, which is like, you needed a board for that. But on the other hand, it also has a lot of great classic games like chess and checkers and things like that. Yeah. So backgammon.
And you can, with a chessboard, you could play games that aren't included, like Konani and...
you just need to find stones or shells.
Or you can just use
because we do use our chessboard to play Konani. Yeah. We have used it. So I think this is a brilliant choice. Because again, like you're saying how you can use it to play other games. This is the sort of thing where even if some of the games are of dubious quality, you could rewrite the rules yourself. You've got plenty of time. You're on a deserted island when you're not catching food or eating food and you're just sitting around in the shade trying to avoid the heat of the midday sun, because I'm assuming we're on a tropical island.
Oh, you would hope so.
I would hope so. I hope it's not an Arctic island. I would assume that yeah, you're gonna have time to mess around with these kind of things. And actually,
I think
so
ours has like Parcheesi too or something.
yeah, it does have Pachisi. It's got a bunch of games in ours. I'm sure I'm showing lots of pictures of it up on the screen. I think it also has that solitaire peg jumping game
Oh
in
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff. So actually, no, this is a brilliant idea. Even though I would say most of the games in our multi-set I would rank fairly low, the variety of games that you have got by bringing that is great. So I would, yeah, wow, good choice. Anything I was going to say about bringing a multi-game classic game set?
No.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to move on. My number 9 is Root. The reason I put my Root is my number 9 is Root is a completely different game depending on what faction you're playing. And the base game comes with 4 different factions. You can play it at 4 players, and every faction plays totally different than every other faction, meaning that Root really feels like you're bringing 4 games. Because if you're playing a different faction each time, you're getting a new experience each time. And it's the sort of game where you do feel like, oh, I want to try out playing the birds next. Oh, I want to try out playing the cats next. I want to try out playing the mice next. And it plays like this old school style war strategy game with totally different factions, that each one is different. Because, like, you know, the cats play out most basic, like an area control game. But some of the other factions get really different. Like the birds do a whole engine building thing. And you live and die by that engine when you play as the birds. So it's very interesting in that way. The replayability of this game can be very high. If you have it with you on a deserted island and you're playing it every night, playing a different faction, you're going to have a different experience every time. 4 nights in a row, totally different experience. And everybody else, too. If you keep rotating around, totally different experience.
You would have the time to explain how everything plays because
yeah, it does take time to explain.
You need like 2 hours just to explain it.
It's true, you do, but you would have all the time in the world, and then you would also have all the time to explore those factions and really learn the ins, the outs, the strengths, and the weaknesses of each faction, which I think would be great. Number 8.
My number 8 is Smash Up.
Oh, okay.
Because pretty much like every game can be different because of all the combinations.
And even just the base set without any expansions does come with a lot of factions. It comes with like, what, at least 6, right?
Yeah.
I want to say. And depending on what, because you pick any 2 of the factions for each game, yeah, that does make a crazy amount of variety.
Yeah.
In gameplay. And each no, it's got to be more than 6. It comes with a bunch in the base. I'm trying to remember because we have a ton of expansions. I don't remember how many came in the base set. I'll put the number up on the screen, but it comes up with a bunch because then each player chooses 2 factions to smash together. Good choice. So is this just because of the variety of gameplay?
Just because of variety.
And again, that makes it highly replayable.
Yeah.
And we were playing for years. We played the heck out of Smash Up. Granted, at this point, I kind of feel like it got a little played out for us, but we played it a lot before it did. Yeah. Oh, good choice. Anything else you want to say on Smash Up?
Nope.
All right, so on to my number 8 then. My number 8 is Crusader Kings. So the reason I picked Crusader Kings, again, is for incredible amounts of replayability. Your position on the map and which nation you choose to be significantly changes your strategies in the game. What cards come up and what possible political marriages you can orchestrate also makes every game feel very different from the last as you work your way through medieval European politics and intermarriage and wars and crusades. It is amazingly deep and fun experience. This game is absolutely great. This is one we did a full review and tutorial for, and we loved it. And I think this is one that has a ludicrous amount of replayability. I feel like, again, similar to Root, this is one... Now, it's not quite as varied in its playstyle as Root, because you don't have complete asymmetrical playstyles for the different factions like you do in Root, but I enjoy it more, and I think the enjoyment pushed it a little higher on the list for me, because I really, really do enjoy Crusader Kings quite a bit, and I really loved like the bag pulling system for actions, and I love the whole trying to create a political dynasty, which is a big part of the game.
I thought about this one, but I didn't put it on my list.
Really? So this one did occur to you?
It did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't think it had enough variety.
but it was in
It
your
had
short
the,
list.
yeah, it had the length, but not variety.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I was gonna say you could while away a full evening with Crusader Kings. It definitely has a good length to help pass the time. Number 7.
My number 7 is Quarriers.
Oh.
Because again, you're building a bag of dice, and every game you have different dice.
And again,
So-
even without the expansions, there's a bunch of different
Yeah.
characters in there for sure. Bunch of different cards and dice.
Yeah.
So again, this is about big amounts of variety.
Yes.
Because of the big amount of variety of characters. We have a bunch of expansions because we had played that one for a while, but that is another one that had a lot of replayability. I feel like while we haven't had any crossover yet, I feel like there's a very similar theme going on between your list and my list where both of them are very much about the variety of gameplay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Quarriers is a dice building game.
Yeah.
Where
Bag building.
you draft dice from cards to be able to defeat your opponents with them, essentially. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah.
It's very similar. If you guys more modernly, because they have a Marvel dice game that they. Do you remember what it's called?
No.
It's basically the same rules as Quarriers, but with Marvel heroes. We've never played it. I forget what it's called. If anyone knows, throw it in the comments down below with the name of the game that is the exact same rules as Quarriers, but with Marvel characters that they came out with afterwards. But yeah, no, definitely really cool game. Anything else you want to say on Quarriers, though?
No.
I was going to say you're kind of short on your description on that one. What number was that?
I think it was
That's got to be 7, right?
7, yeah.
So my number 7, okay. I've got a slight cheat on this one.
At least I put mine at number 10, my slight cheat.
Yeah, I got my slight cheat on my number 7. So here's the deal. I was thinking about this, we each have 10 games we're bringing with us. And why is it that everybody has 10 games? And I was thinking, well, we were all on a ship or a plane to a game convention.
You're making up a whole backstory here.
I am. And someone else, because there's a bunch of people, we have enough people to play even large size games, someone else has a copy of this game as well. And someone else, and that turned out to be Lynn, has a chess set because she brought the multi-game set, which I didn't know she was bringing, but she's got it. Nightmare chess is my choice. And the reason I specifically said, because like everyone's got...
Why do 2 people need a...
I'm going to explain.
Okay.
The reason you want 2 sets of Nightmare chess is for... There's multiple different ways to play Nightmare chess. You could play with a limited number of cards. You could play with the whole deck. Or you could play with... There's a way you can make custom decks. They have costs on the cards. You pick a cost value for decks, and you make a deck based on the cost. This is why you'd want 2 sets. If you have 2 sets, 2 different people could take time, make their own decks with the custom cost, and play out the games. That is what makes this game infinitely replayable. While it is not the most common way I have played the game for Desert Island play, or Deserted Island play rather, this would be a ludicrously replayable game if you would say, okay, let's try playing the game at this cost. You make a deck, I'll make a deck, and then we'll play the game. We play it a few times, and then like, okay, let's try rebuilding our decks and maybe try a different cost. And that is what I think would be making this game insanely replayable for Nightmare Chess. Thoughts?
I mean, okay. I've never played Nightmare Chess, so...
Okay. Number 6.
My number 6 is Mysterium.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you're trying to do the same thing every game.
Yeah.
But because you have different cards out, then the cards that the ghost uses will be different. And I feel like there's enough variety.
Also, is the game good?
Yes, I like Mysterium.
Well, why don't you talk a little bit more about what Mysterium is? Come on, you just go, you say 2 lines and you go dead silent. Don't rely on me to say everything. Talk about the game.
So in Mysterium, one player it's cooperative. One player is the ghost and they can't speak, but they have cards that have pictures on them that they hand to the other players who are trying to figure out who died in what room and what was an item that had to do with the death. So that's...
This is a really good game. It didn't occur to me for a desert island game because I didn't think of the variety and replayability being high enough. But while I still don't think the variety of gameplay, because the gameplay is basically the same every game, we have played the heck out of this game, and so I have to agree that the replayability, well, not the variety, the replayability is very high because we have played the heck out of this game. So yeah, I can't really fault you on that. Well done. My number 6 is another game that has a ludicrous amount of replayability. It is the theme of my entire list. It is also a game that is not actually available yet. I have a preview copy. It is Feud. Now, this game, FYI, I did a full review and tutorial of it because I was sent a preview copy that's going to be what the production is going to look like, but the Kickstarter is coming out sometime later this year. Feud is a game where you have a variety of different units and spells and cards that are available each game. They change from game to game. And depending on what they are, your strategy for your engine building and combat, where it's a one-on-one fight, where you're moving around your units and you put them in areas which get you certain resources, and you move them up to the castle walls to defend them, and you move them out to the battlefield to attack your opponent's fortress. But the variety from game to game is endless because the units vary an insane amount, and the other cards also vary an insane amount. And if you watched my review and tutorial I did of it, you would have seen that Alex and I did the review and tutorial. We raved about it. We love this game. But specifically, more than how much I enjoy this game is ludicrously replayable, which is 100% why it's on my list. You will come to the point where you will stop doing random draws of cards, and you'll just be like, what happens if we play a game where we have this unit, this unit, this unit, and this spell? I just want to see what happens when they interact. And you'll specifically play that game to see the interactions of certain combinations of effects and abilities. And that's why I put Feud as my number 6 game to take with me on a deserted island.
Okay, never played it.
Number 5. Maybe you will play it on the deserted island.
I didn't know that we were on this deserted island together. Okay. My number 5 is junk art.
Okay.
And it's because you get different...
objectives?
Yes. Different objectives every game.
Okay.
And also, I mean, sometimes you just want a fun game. We're bringing all these, like, intense aggro games on this desert island.
We have been bringing a lot of pretty intense games, yeah.
Sometimes you just want a fun day where you just build some stuff.
You do a dexterity game
Yeah.
with balancing and piling things up to make a 3-dimensional junk art.
Mm-hmm.
Junk art is a very fun game. This is not one that occurred to me at all, though. But yeah, there's a lot of replayability here. I agree that there's a lot of replayability. Anything else you want to say on junk art?
No.
I would say specifically, though, the old school wooden version, not the newer plastic one, because the wooden pieces are so much more satisfying. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have the nice wooden one, which is really good. All right, so this is our number 5. My number 5 is an old school aggro game. It is super long, super heavy, super aggro. It's just the thing that Lynn was saying there that we maybe had too much of, but this is the one that I really would want to delve into deeply with one other player on the island, that I would play again and again and again and again. And it is Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage. And it's because the game contains literally dozens of scenarios played on multiple different boards with ludicrous amounts of variant rules for each scenario. There is a lifetime worth of content in that game that under normal circumstances, I would never actually be able to explore all of. But playing on a desert island, I might. There's an insane amount of variant rules for each different scenario, and that is why I would want to play this game. This is an old school war strategy game where you're playing the sides of Carthage and Rome, fighting over the Mediterranean. Depending on which scenarios you're using, it's either the First or Second Punic War. You could either be, the First Punic War of that, where the Carthaginian side is led by Hamilcar, or the Second Punic War where it is led by his son Hannibal. But it's very interesting. The combat system involves a lot of card play. There's a lot of different custom dice and a lot of interesting mechanics. You play cards that show your battle tactics, and then your opponent has to respond with a card that might counter your battle tactics. Very interesting style game. But again, it's in my opinion, it's all about the variety of all the different scenarios because there's so many in the box. And that is why Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage, is my number 5 because of the weight, the depth, and the variety.
Okay. I don't like that game.
Number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is a newer game that we still haven't finished the entire thing. It is The Adventures of Robin Hood. And what?
Go on.
And it is because there are the same things, like you need to do certain things to win the round, but you don't need to go about doing the same way all the time.
Okay.
And also there's the thing where after you finish the entire campaign, you can go back and do the +1 campaign, and there's like things that change.
So you are thinking, even though there's a limited number of scenarios, there's a ridiculous amount of replayability because of the ways to play through all scenarios again. Try alternate tactics and play them on harder difficulties.
Yes.
Okay. I was a little, like, when you first said it, I was thinking to myself, but there's like a limited number of scenarios in that. Why would you take that to the desert island? But now with your justification,
Well,
I
also,
think I get it.
there's 9, and then you can play through them again with added stuff.
I think there's enough to do it 3 times, actually, with variant ways of playing. Okay, I'll buy that. I will buy that. Sure, Robin Hood. The Adventures of Robin Hood was your number 4, yes?
Yes.
My number 4 is Radiant Offline Battle Arena. Now, the thing with Radiant Offline Battle Arena is that it is a card game that involves selecting a different character to play as each time, which helps you to pick which deck it is that you use, which cards you use to play with. And the strategy of the different cards and the different characters changes significantly from game to game. It's one of those where you want to play again. You're like, I want to try this character. I want to try that character. The characters play very differently. There's some of them that like break the basic rules of the game to totally turn it on its head. And in one fairly small box, you get an insane amount of replayability, which again, if you're paying attention, is what my list is all about. This game is insanely replayable. It's also a game that can be played much more quickly than a lot of the other games I've picked. I like to have a little variety of game length. Something like Hannibal and Hamilcar is like a 4-hour game. This is something that's like a half-hour game. It's a much quicker game. It can be played in a much shorter time frame. But again, probably has about just as much replayability because of the variety of gameplay from all the different characters in the box.
I don't think I've played this.
No, it is a kind of like heads up battle card game, which you've been like less in the mood for in recent years. You've kind of moved away from them. You used to play more of them, but lately you've seemed to be kind of turned off by them. So I haven't asked you to play it.
Okay.
So number 3.
My number 3 is Scattergories.
This almost made my list. It did. I cut it off barely.
Because, you have like the massive, there's like 24 different lists. And you can make up your own list too.
Yeah, you can.
So there's just infinite lists.
And
pretty much.
For those who haven't played, how's that categories play?
Well, you have a list of different things. It'll be like a city name or like
capitals, things in this room.
Yeah.
Something that would be in a boy's bedroom, things like that.
Yeah, and then you have a big die with most of the letters of the alphabet. There's like, I don't think it has like
a Z.
Like, there's no X and there's no Z.
Yeah.
And there's no Y, I don't think.
I want to say it's a 20-sided die, so that's 20 of the 26 letters. I think it has. There's no. They omit like the 6 letters that are least likely to be the start of a noun.
So, and you roll the die, and you have to write a list of all those things that start with that letter.
Right.
And you have a certain amount of time. There's a timer. And then if you...
And you do it 3 times with 3 different letters for each list.
And whoever has the most, it's like 1 point per thing that no one else has said. So if like the letter is C and like 2 out of 3 people say celery for like a vegetable, they don't get points, but the person who said cucumber does.
Yes. This is a really good game with a ludicrous amount of replayability. And I almost put it on my list. It got edged out ever so slightly by like the last couple of picks on my list, basically. So I'm glad you brought it then, because then when we're on this deserted island together, I'll get to play a little of categories. So yeah, that was your number 3, yes?
Yeah.
So my number 3 is another card battle game, but it's a really good one, again with ludicrous amounts of variety in the base set. And that is Sorcerer. So Sorcerer is a card battle game, also with boards, but the boards are mostly placeholders, where because of the fact that each time you pick 3 different things, you pick a character, you pick like a school of magic, and you pick like a lineage. There's like these 3 different things. Each one of those gives you a special ability and gives you a third of your deck. And you just take those 3 things and you put them together. So similar to Smash Up, where you just pick the 2 factions and smash them together. It has a similar feel to that, but more advanced. Because there's a lot more going on in Sorcerer than there is in Smash Up. Smash Up's a good game. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It's just this is a more advanced game with more to sink your teeth into. And also, because of the 3 parts versus 2 parts, a larger amount of variety. Because there's a ludicrous amount of combinations with the different parts of the decks that come in the base box. And Sorcerer is great fun. It is a really cool game with delightful artwork that I would enjoy playing again and again and again as I battled other people on the island. And that is why Sorcerer is my number 3.
Okay, never played it.
Number 2.
My number 2 is Tales of the Arabian Nights, because it's long and there is variety with the storytelling.
There is. I will grant you that there is definitely variety. Go on.
And it definitely takes 6 hours to play.
It definitely does.
So
it'll consume some time.
It'll make that desert island go right past. Time will fly while mermen are killing you.
Why don't you tell people about the game?
So it is a storytelling game where you are trying to get a certain number of points, and then you have to make your way back to Baghdad. And terrible things happen all the time.
You interact with people and supernatural creatures and all sorts of things. And you know what? It's a fun game. I do like this game. I made a face only because Lynn overplays it with our players. The problem is, like, I like this game, but I don't like it anywhere near as much as Lynn does. So when Lynn first got it, we kind of overplayed it a bit. Because Lynn, I want to say, our first game of this game, we played it in the evening. Mm-hmm. And when we were done, no joke, Lynn jumped out of her chair, threw her hands in the air, and yelled, 10 out of 10, would play again, and then insisted we play it the very next day. So like we have played this game a lot. So it's not that I dislike it. I do like this game. It's just we've probably played it more than I would have liked to have played it based on how much I like it. Because I don't like it anywhere near as much as you do. Mm-hmm. But you're right. There is a lot of replayability. There's a lot of different storyline bits to discover. Definitely. My number 2 is a ludicrously replayable game. I kind of feel like for the most part, my games have actually gotten more replayable as they go because of variety of play or other reasons. And that really holds true for my numbers 2 and 1. Are crazy replayable. My number 2 is That Time You Killed Me. It is a game that slowly reveals itself to you. It involves time travel, moving around on 3 boards, one that is past, one that is present, one that is future, as you try to kill your opponent's pieces throughout the time stream. The pieces being the same person throughout the time stream that slowly duplicates themselves by time traveling. And you start the game by playing with Module 1. Then you graduate to and play Module 2, and you graduate to and play Module 3. Each of those modules have significantly different rules. Module 1 involves planting seeds at one point at a time that then grow to shrubberies and eventually to trees in later points in the time frame, which have different mechanics at different points. Module 2 involves carving statues, and that statue is now available in other parts of the time stream. And then if you move statues in one part of the time stream, it moves them in future parts of the time stream. And Module 3 involves elephants that you can train in earlier parts of the time stream so that they will still be trained by you in later parts of the time stream. Then you can order the elephants to move around and possibly trample your enemies. Always, also, though, you have the ability to do things like push your enemies into wall to crush them. And all of the different things, all the different elements allow you to have new ways of killing enemies, like you can push a tree over and have it fall on an enemy. You could use a statue in an earlier time period to move it, to have it move in a later time period and crush someone into another statue or a wall. Or push two copies of the same person into each other and cause a paradox and have them get wiped out. All these things are possible. And then, once you've played through all 3 modules, you start being able to combine the modules. You randomly play 2 of the 3 modules together, and then there are achievement packs of cards that as you win in certain ways, you get to open achievement packs and start using the achievements to add in extra rules to the game. This game is insanely replayable. I have played the crap out of this game and still find it to not be played out. Like Alex and I,
you can just open the packs. Nothing's
no. No, by my honor, Alex and I have only opened packs that we have achieved. There's still a couple. I think there's still a couple more that we haven't opened, but we've gotten most of them, and it's great. It's fantastic. It is a amazing game. That Time You Killed Me is not only one of my favorite games of all time, it's also one of the most infinitely replayable games of all time, and it is why it is my number 2.
Okay.
And now it is time for number 1. Time for a drum roll.
Okay. My number 1. I almost said 10 for some reason.
This is going to be good. You've had a pretty darn good list, actually. I really like
my
all
number
your choices.
1 is a deck of cards, because you can play solitaire games, and also that classic game box, they normally come with a deck of cards, and there's some games where
some don't, though.
Yes, but I think ours does.
Okay, but in this case, in case it didn't, you've brought a deck of cards as your number 1.
But in case it also did, there are some games where you combine 2 decks of cards.
Okay.
There's some solitaire games that you need 2 decks of cards for.
But
you could play spades, hearts, whist,
you
gin rummy, like anything that you need.
There's a ludicrous number of games you can play with a deck of cards. That's got to be the most.
As long as someone knows the rules, you could just make up rules too.
So I mean, okay, I haven't played games with a regular deck of cards in a while, but I have to give it to you. This is probably one of, if not the most versatile gaming implements of all time, is a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Just a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many games you could play with just it, and just a deck of
thing
cards.
Where you stick it to your forehead.
Oh, that's Blind Man's Bluff. Yeah. Blind Man's Bluff. That's that game. So, but also with a deck of cards, and this is something I was referencing before with your multi-game set, you could also use it to design your own games.
Mm-hmm.
A deck of cards, again, is infinitely replayable because lots of people design their own games with decks of cards. I mean, when a deck of cards was originally created, none of those games, like, 7-card stud or, 5-card draw or Blind Man's Bluff or Rummy 500 or Gin Rummy or Spades or Hearts or Rook or Bridge, none of these things existed.
Mm-hmm.
And then people invented them because they had a deck of cards to invent them with. So the fact that you're bringing that is absolutely freaking brilliant, and I have to give it to you for this choice. Didn't even occur to me, but great.
I am sometimes, but most often not brilliant.
Well, you were brilliant today. This is a great. You did a great list. I've got no problems with your list, really. I didn't even argue with you bringing Tales of the Arabian Nights. I think we're gonna have fun on the island. So my final choice also is ludicrously replayable because there are a ludicrous number of games with it. This has been a pair of lists with 0 crossover. We have had 0 crossover, and it will remain that way. But my final choice is the Pyramid Arcade.
I was wondering if that was going to show up.
Yes.
Because it's just like a bunch of stuff.
It's so many games in one. So the Pyramid Arcade, if you're not familiar, Looney Labs, which is a fun little board game company that's been around forever. They're the creators of course, the amazingly famous and amazingly widespread series of games of Flux, which we still have the original Flux in black and white before they even had color printing for Flux, but also have a ton of the different versions of Flux. One of the other things they make, other than the ludicrous numbers of themed Fluxes, is their pyramid games. And what it was they created these pyramids of multiple sizes and multiple colors, and they were like, this is a great game component that could be used for so many games. And they started releasing like these very cheap, easy to buy, like little in bags versions of these games using all these same components of these little pyramids. And then one day, Andrew Looney, who is the designer of most of those games and the creator of the pyramid components and the owner of Looney Labs, said, hey, wait a minute, I made so many of these, I got to put out a box set that just, compiles them, puts them all in one place. And that is the Pyramid Arcade. So the Pyramid Arcade comes with all these components, most of which are used for many of these games, and it comes with so many games. And then again, because of how these components are so easy to be used for so many different games, like with Lynn's deck of cards, you could use this game box to create your own games. After you play through all the games in here, and there's an insane amount of games in there, you could be like, oh, how could I use these to make my own games? Which again is a great activity to use on the island. So you agree with that too for the same reason then. This was a really fun list. I really enjoyed this list a lot. What did you think? Was this a fun list to do?
Yeah, it was fun, and it was pretty easy. I'm normally,
You normally struggle.
I normally struggle to find stuff.
Yeah, this was great fun. Let us know what you thought of our choices in the comments down below. Also, let us know what games you would bring to the deserted island with you in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this list and you'd like to see us do more top 10 lists like this, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on. Okay, well, puppy blooper. Hello, Nico. Hello, Nico, my old friend. Oh, what are you doing? 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 What's going on? He's like, you guys are filming without me. I wanted to be involved. I need to be involved. Oh, you were too cute for words. Yes, you are. Thank you for the kisses. Your breath is very warm and stinky. Would you go play with your toys? Oh, no, you're not going to kiss me. Not on the lips, anyway. All right, now, would you go play with your toys? Would you go play with your toys? Would you please go play with your toys? Are we having another puppy blooper already? We having another puppy blooper? Oh, my good. Oh, hi. I think he got a nose mark on my glasses on me. Oh, I'm going to need to clean my glasses off now.